Spiritualism and fanaticism. Now, I don't know what it is about today that I've kind of been getting bombarded in the morning today when I woke up. A couple people, smaller YouTube channels, telling me that I'm going to go to hell. Well, A, Obama is the Antichrist. B, the rapture is going to happen in the year 2021. How he's aware of all this, I have no idea. And 3, I'm the devil. And he's going to be praying for my soul. And I won't be going into heaven unless I accept Jesus into my heart. So, I just want to get at that there's two differences. Phenomenal differences between having a spiritual or almost religious, but I think spiritualism is a better term to describe one's own personal belief and their own personal God or gods, and how they choose to view what that 3-letter word means to them instead of worrying about what it means to the entire fucking world. And fanaticism, or being very militant and thinking that, every single word written in the Bible is 100% absolute truth, and if you don't adhere to every single word written in this book that's been rewritten more times than I can count, but that's not the point. It's like the game Telephone. What was it called in first grade? When they give you a piece of paper and you tell the person next to you, whisper it in their ear, and the person next to them whispers a story into their ear, and then the person next to them whispers a story into their ear, and by the time you get to the end of the line, you compare what's written on the piece of paper and you compare what the person at the end of the line has to say. They're two complete different stories. Now, with the passage of time and hundreds of years, I'd imagine the same rules apply. I'd imagine. Because at the end of the day, that's all we really have, right, is our imagination and the perception of how we perceive the outside world due to the area that we just so happen to grow up in, whether it's North America, China, Antarctica, Alaska, South America, the Middle East, Korea, whatever it may be, right? I just find it funny how for some people, God apparently loves and prefers the American philosophy of what a God really is. And anything outside of America, God kind of just says, no, you're wrong. Seems a bit silly to me, but whatever. The difference between spiritualism and fanaticism. It's two different things. I understand how a person can or needs to believe in these beings outside the world, outside of this earth, in order to find a sense of peace or a sense of order or a sense of solace with all the madness that goes around in this fucking world every fucking day. I mean, just turn on the news and it's the same thing every day. Just negative shit. I don't watch TV. I don't even have Netflix. That's how unhip I am. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu. I don't really engage in that form of entertainment or whatever. But anyway, going back to my point, the difference between someone who's spiritual or religious, more in the spiritual aspect, and believing in their own personal God, and the difference between a fanatic. And I'm from the belief that a good fanatic is always ready for an argument. Uh, yeah, a good fanatic is always ready for an argument. And I'll end it with this. Growing up, my parents, around when I was around the age of 11 or 12, started going to church. And they were far more militant than they are now in the present day. Back when I was growing up, around that age, 10, 11, up until I was like 19, 20 years old, they were far more militant in their personal beliefs and what God meant to them. And they loved kind of almost preaching, like to my aunts and uncles, to me, to my siblings and stuff like that, that if we didn't do this, this, and that, as it's told in the Bible, we're going to burn in hell for all eternity. And when the rapture happens, they're going to fly off to heaven, and the non-believers are going to stay here on earth, and 3 years after that, earth is going to open up, and hell's going to, I don't know what the hell, and all that. I'm just glad that over the decades, they've kind of toned it down way more, a lot more. And maybe they look back at who they were 20 years ago and realized, maybe I was a little too fanatical. Maybe I was a little too irrational in my beliefs. Maybe I was a little too militant. Or maybe I was the arrogance. That's the word that I was looking for. The arrogance. The arrogance within themselves, and that if any other belief system or any other person's version of what the three-letter word God meant outside of their belief system, the arrogance in that they were right because it's what makes them feel good, it's what brings them at center. If it doesn't adhere to their beliefs and their cognitive dissonance is a bit tiered off, either a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, well, then that person's wrong. You're wrong, and you're going to hell. Because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, N-O-P. And I remember as a kid, like 12, 13 years old, and my mom threw away my Marvel cards. They were like the 1995 Masterpiece series. Just Marvel, old school cards. They didn't really do anything. They weren't magic cards. They weren't Pokemon cards. They were just had the artwork, and on the back it had a description of the card, the superhero or the villain. And I don't know why I don't know whether she saw Mephisto or Apocalypse or Doctor Doom or Thanos, and she was like, oh my god, that's a demon, that's the devil, and she threw away my Marvel cards. And it's like, dude, the fuck? Like, remember that pissed me off so much. I just started slamming her fucking Christian music tapes, cassettes, just one by one on the floor. It just pissed me off. I was like, why? What was the point of that? Like, there was no internet back then, damn it. There was no fucking Wi-Fi. There was no Macs and all this shit. I loved those cards. But anyway, I'm just glad that today it's a lot more toned down, and there's no more waves and tsunamis of them throwing their perceptions and their ideologies of, if you don't believe this, well then you're wrong because I'm right, because it gives me a sense of solace or whatever. Now the tides have calmed down, the waters are calm, it's smooth sailing, and they're better people 20 years later. They're better people. They can look back and maybe realize that, hey, maybe I was a little too kooky on this ideology and a little off on this one, and if at this point in time their spiritual, their religious beliefs at this point in time makes them a better people than who they were 20 years ago, which I know it has because they're my parents and I've seen the levels that they've changed as people, because they're my parents and I've seen it with these two fucking eyes. Who they were then, who they are now, two totally different people. And if that makes you a better person and it brings you at your center, then that's a good thing. That's a good thing.